Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bethany, and in this video we are going to be making some really quick and simple little cord labels. So let me see if you can see those. Let's get that focused. There we go. So we're making little labels and they're really fun, really easy, and they're a way to get your little bag of cords organized. So I actually had someone ask me if I could do a tutorial on this. So I made one for my iPad, and then I also made one for my iPhone, but you can also make these for your machines. So if you wanted to do a little label for each of your Cricut machine label cords, then you could do that as well. So we are going to use the Cricut Joy. We're also going to use simple materials. So we have this Smart Label Writable vinyl. So we're going to use that. Quite honestly, I haven't found a lot of uses for this material. So go ahead and comment down below if you have found a lot of ways to use this. I've had this for over a year. I purchased this right when the Joy came out, and this is only the second time that I have crafted with it. So I think it is a good candidate for a project like this, but I haven't found a lot of uses for it. So let me know if you have been inspired in different ways with this material. We're also going to be using the Joy pen. I'm using the black pen, but you can use any color of the Joy pens that you would like. The Joy did finally release a whole collection of Cricut Joy pens, so that is super exciting. I have a video of that on my channel. So anyway, very basic materials, the Joy, writable vinyl, and then the pen, and then we'll create these cute little labels. So let's go ahead and hop into Design Space. I'll show you how to create this little label template. I'll show you how to find a font that's good for writing, and then I'll also show you how to make sure your machine also writes your little font right where you'd like it. Also, there were a couple whoopsies in this video. So I'm going to show you how to get your writable vinyl into your machine so that it does not smudge when using the pen. And I'm also just going to give you a little bit of advice on why you should print more than one of these little labels and give yourself a little practice run. All right, let's go ahead and hop into Design Space and get started. Okay, so in Cricut Design Space, I'm going to start by coming over to Images, and I am going to search for Rectangle in the Images section. So I'm going to search for that, click Enter, and then all of these little search results come up. So I am just going to select more of a rounded rectangle. That's the look I'm going for my label. So I'm going to select this right here and say Insert Images. And then what I'm going to do is bring my rectangle in, and then I am going to size it for the size of label that I would like to create. So I am going to just rotate this, and if you hold down Shift on your keyboard while rotating it, it rotates in increments. That way you can get a really good right angle. So I have that perfectly rotated. I'm going to make my screen bigger so you can really see here. And then I am going to size my little label down, and I think I'm going to do a width of about 1.5 inches. So I'm sizing that down to just roughly 1.5 inches. That's good enough. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to create the actual double-sided label. So what I'll do is I'm going to really quickly make this white because I'm going to be using the Smart Label Writable Vinyl for the Cricut Joy. And then what I'm going to do next is I'll just come down to blank canvas. I clicked it down in the layers panel and then come up to color right up here. And I'm going to make my canvas a pink color just so I can really see my label. Okay, so now I am all set. So to create my double-sided label, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my label, come up and click duplicate, and then I'll bring that right over here. And then what I want to do is I want to keep about, let's say, 1 inch between each one. So I'm just going to use the grid lines that come on the canvas, and I am going to just place them about 1 inch apart from one another. So if I even bring them up here, it's probably easier to see. So I'm going to put this at the 7 and then this at the 8. That way there's about 1 inch of a gap in between those two. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to Align with both of them selected. So selecting both, come up to Align, and I am going to say Align Bottom. That makes sure that they are lined up perfectly with one another, which is really important. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to attach those two pieces together. Now what I need to do is create a little piece in the middle that will attach each side together so we can fold them onto one another. So I'm going to come over to Shapes, and I'm simply going to select a square, and then what I'm going to do is unlock that square, just like so, and then I will create a little bridge between the two. So it looks like I am going to do I kind of want that middle piece to be at least 1/4 of an inch. Let's see if we can maybe even make it about 0.4 would probably be fine. Okay, so let's do that. I'll make this piece white. And then what I'm going to do is select all of my pieces. I'm going to come up to align and I am going to say center vertically. And that makes sure that that little middle piece that I created is centered vertically on the 2 end pieces. So now what I can do is I can select all 3 pieces and come down. Now this is really important. You want to come down and weld them together so that this makes one piece. So this is going to be our label. Again, you can make this in any size, any shape. If you want to make these circular, if you want to make these hearts, whatever you'd like, but this is how you're going to make your template for your double-sided label. So now you have your template here. So you can make as many as you'd like. I'm personally going to make 2 today. So I'm going to come up and I'm simply going to duplicate my label. So I have 2 labels. And now what I want to do is I want to have the pen on the Cricut Joy draw out my actual label for me. So what I'll do is I will come over to text, and then what I'm going to do is come up to font. Because I'm using the pen, I'm going to come to filters and I'm going to filter for writing fonts. When you click on the writing font filter, what it will do is it will show you only fonts that are good for using the pen. They're also good for using the foil tool as well, but I like turning that filter on because then it just gives me options that are good for writing and drawing, and I don't have to scroll through fonts that won't even work for me. So I am going to go ahead and select, I'm going to browse through here and I am going to use this font right here. It's called DTC Peach Cakes. So I'll go ahead and select that. You can see once I select it that the style is writing, so we're good to go, and I can add my text here. So my first little label is going to be for an iPad, so I have that written out just like so. And what I will do is I will just bring it onto my label here and I will size it. That looks just about right. I might make that just a little bit smaller. Okay, and then I'm just going to visually center that, which looks really good to me. Now, if you wanted to have your label on both sides and create a double-sided label, what you could do is select your text, come over and click duplicate, and then you have the same text for your other side of your label right here. Okay, so that looks great. Really quickly before I move forward, I'm going to duplicate this one more time so that I can add another label down here using the same text. So now what I'm going to do is double click and then I can just add a new text here. So my next one is going to be iPhone. So I will just place that right there. That looks good. I might actually size that down, but let me go ahead and duplicate that one more time. I am a little bit of a control freak in that I want all of these to match. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of my text. So I have all 4 selected. You can see that over here in the layers panel. And then what I'm going to do with all 4 of them selected is I'm going to size them all together just so they all are the same size. So I just want to make sure that iPhone one is a little bit smaller. Okay, that looks good. So now what I can do is I can just center those visually how I'd like them. Okay, and I'll bring these little iPad labels up. Okay, and that looks good to me. So now what I want to do is I want to make sure my Joy knows that I want my little labels written exactly where I place them here on this little template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my label template plus my writing, and then I'm going to come down and attach those. That way my Cricut is going to write out my words exactly where I place them. And I'll go ahead and do that for my second label just like this and say attach. So now I am good to go. So you'll see in the layers panel right over here that we have the writing set to pen, but we have the actual physical label set to basic cut. So we're going to be drawing and cutting. So we are all good to go. So we have the Joy selected. I'm going to say make it. And then I am using the Smart Label Writable vinyl. That is a mouthful. And I am going to go ahead and do without a mat because you can load this without a mat and say done. And then I'm just going to drag those apart just a little bit, and then I will say continue. So it'll find my Joy, and then I can make my material selection here. So for materials, I'll browse all materials. I'm going to use the Smart Label Writable Vinyl. I'll go ahead and click that and say done. I'm also using a pen. It says to load the black pen. If you'd like to use another pen, then go ahead and load that. What's exciting is that the Cricut Joy now has its very own pen set, so you have endless colors with the Cricut Joy pens, and I have a video on that, so I'll link it in the top right corner for you. It's so fun. I'm simply going to use a black one, but like I said, if you have more than just the black Cricut Joy pen, you can insert that or whatever color you would like at this time. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get everything loaded. Oh, up here it does give an alert though that says gel pens and metallic markers are not recommended on this material. So note that. All right, let's go ahead and get these little labels drawn and cut, and we'll get them all ready to organize our little cords. Okay, so really easy materials for this project. So we have the Cricut Joy pen just right here. Again, you can load any color you'd like. I'm using the Fine Point 0.4 black pen. And then we are using the Smart Label Writable Vinyl, and that is what is going to allow us to write on the actual vinyl. So this is for the Cricut Joy, and we also have the Cricut Joy, so we'll go ahead and open that. And then we'll just take our little smart vinyl out of the box. And I actually have a little scrap piece in here, so I am going to go ahead and feed that into the Joy and see if that's enough to use. So I'm just going to auto load that in, and it'll pull it in and out and measure it to make sure I have enough. So we'll see what it says on my computer. So it says we are good to go. So now what we want to do is we want to load the pen in first. So I'm going to just open up the clamp, take the little blade out and put it to the side. Now, a lot of you, I've been repeating this lately because I will get comments on it. A lot of you have told me that you can place this on the side and that there's a little magnetic force here that allows you to do that. I have tried, it does not work for me. I do not think it is actually an intentional feature that Cricut made to actually work. I don't think they intended for that to happen. So if that works for you, go for it. I just place mine to the side because that's more reliable. And then I'm going to open up my little pen and then simply just place it in there. You don't need to push it down or anything. You just literally drop it in, and then I just steady it a little bit and then close that little clamp. Okay, then I can click go on my device, and then it will go ahead and start the drawing first. One of the most interesting things that the Cricut does is it does not write the word in order, so it kind of keeps you on your toes, which makes it a little bit fun to watch. So it kind of just picks and chooses where to write. Okay, so now let me know that it's done with the pen, so I will open up the clamp, remove the little pen, and then I can just drop my blade right back inside and close my clamp, and then say go. Okay, so I am noticing that it is smudging, so let me show you something. So this little piece was pretty small and it kind of was cattywampus in the machine. So what it did was, if you can see here, there's a smudge here, and then it kind of bled down here as well. So I am going to redo these because that will drive me crazy. If it doesn't drive you crazy, then go ahead and continue on. But I'm going to simply go ahead and load a new piece. I'm going to fix that, and then we will move on. So I wanted to show you that because I want to show you that it is possible that it does smudge. I do think it may have been how I placed the material in. It wasn't completely straight, I noticed, so I'm going to just try again. I have no problem redoing this because I've had this writable vinyl for over a year now, and this is only the second time I have found a need for it. I have so much of this stuff. I haven't really found this to be something I use often, so that's okay that I am redoing this, and I'll just go ahead and reload that. We'll see if that helps. Another thing I wonder is I might actually try, let me unload this. I might try to actually put this on a mat, because I think the flatter it is, the less risky it is for the pen to smudge, because right now it comes in this roll and it's really hard to get it super flat in the machine, in my opinion. And when it's just doing regular vinyl and regular cutting, that really doesn't matter. But for something with the pen where it's not completely flat, I don't feel like that's helping at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim this down and change my little setting in Design Space to say on a mat, and then we will go ahead and redo this. Okay, so I'm just going to take my Writable vinyl and I am simply going to, let me turn it over so I get a really straight cut. I'm going to just trim off what I need. Now, here's the thing about recording tutorials like this. So I totally could have just deleted the fact that it didn't work the first time, but I want to keep mistakes like that in my videos because if you run into that as well, I want to show you another way to do it. So if yours is smudging, or if you see this before you start yours and you decide, hey, let me see if putting it on a mat might work, then it's totally worth it for me to keep mistakes like that in my videos so that you don't have the same mistake happen to you. So I put that Writable vinyl right on my mat there, and then I'm going to load it in this way. Again, I did go back into Design Space and tell it I wanted to switch to placing my material on a mat. So I'll go ahead and load that in. Okay, and let's just do this again. So loading our pen in. Okay, there we go. Placing that to the side, drop, close, go. So now that material is perfectly flat on that mat. So I think this is going to be much better. So that other one, I'm looking at it and I'm just running my fingers over it just to see if that one dried quickly. It did, so that's good. That's good to know. I didn't want to test it on my new ones because they look like they're working really well, so I'd rather test on something that I'm tossing anyway, but those look good. One thing though about the Writable vinyl is it is not waterproof. So someone has asked me that on other tutorials about this product. It is not. So I have done a test where I just took a damp paper towel and just ran over it, and it leaves a different look to it. It's hard to explain, but let's just say it's not waterproof at all. So make sure you don't get your labels wet. This would not be a good option in my opinion if you were creating a label for something that is going to get wet. Of course, your cords are not going to be getting wet, so this is a perfect product for creating a little label for organizing your cords. So we'll go ahead and open this up and take our little pens out, and then place our little blade inside, close the clamp, and say go. Okay, so now we're all done. I can go ahead and say unload on my computer. And then I am going to just let this dry for a few minutes. I'll let you know how long I wait, but I just want to be sure it's really, really dry because the next part is going to be some folding and I'm going to be placing my hands over the pen or where the pen has drawn. So I want to just make sure I don't smudge anything. So I'm going to let it dry really quickly and then we will assemble them. Okay, so I want to say I waited about 5 minutes or so. So I'm going to turn my mat over and just peel my label away. Then I can trim off my extra Writable vinyl to use if I need that. Okay, and then this is white on white, which means it has a white background and white vinyl. So you're not going to see very well this part, but what I'm doing is I'm simply taking away all that surrounding area so that my labels only are left on that sheet. Okay, so now I need my little cords. Okay, so I have my little cords here. Let's go ahead and start with the little iPad one first. Actually, both of these cords work for either my iPhone or iPad, but there's one I use for one more than the other. So I am going to start with the iPad one. So I'm simply going to take my label here and remove it from that sheet. Okay, there we go, being gentle. And there we go. So we have our little double-sided label right there. Now what I'm going to do, hopefully you can see that, I might do it long ways. I'm going to take my label and just place it upside down on my little craft mat here. And then I'll take my cord and just place it right in the middle, just like this. Okay, so my cord is right there. Now what I want to do is I just want to fold this over on itself. So I just need to line that up, and both sides are sticky, so it'll be a little bit tricky. So just take my time and just lining those up right on top of one another, just like that. Perfect. Get my finger out from underneath there and then flatten it out. Okay, so there is my little iPad tag just like that. Oops, I had a little glare on it. But now I have a little tag for my little iPad just like that. Okay, and I actually fixed it a little bit because it had a little bubble in it. So it's all good now. That one's done. And now I will move on to my iPhone. So it is a little tricky because you're putting sticky on sticky. So it gets you focused for a moment, but they turn out really, really good. You could also make these for your machine cords as well. If you want to label if you have more than one machine, you want to label your cords, you know, Cricut Explore Air 2 or Cricut Joy. So you can do that as well. Okay, so then again, placing that upside down, sticky side up, and then I am going to place my cord in the center here, and then I will just kind of rotate that and then fold it onto itself. Being careful not to have it stick too early and just taking my time. Okay, there we go. And then just slowly rolling that towards one another. Ooh, that one went so much better. Practice makes perfect on that. So maybe what you could do is maybe create a little extra one to practice on, but that one turned out amazing. Very, very crisp, very clean. And then again, it's double-sided. So easy peasy on creating little labels for your cords if you want to differentiate which cord is which. And again, you could do this for your machines as well, or just any cords that you have. I swear, we have a bag of cords around here that probably could really use a little Cricut love. So very, very quick and easy. And I think these turned out really nice. And again, you're just using the pen and the writable vinyl. So the materials here are very, very basic. Okay, and here I am, you guys, redoing that iPad one because you know it was gonna bug me. There was a wrinkle in it and I just could not handle that. So I'm a recovering perfectionist and I just had to redo it. This one was one where it was going to bother me too much. So again, this is something that will probably take just a tad bit of practice, but haha, there we go. Perfect, just how I like it. Okay, so here's the iPad one, much better this time. So few things that we learned here. Put the writable vinyl on a mat. It makes it really flat so that the pen does not smudge because it's not buckling up in the machine. Number 2, be sure you cut out 1 or 2 test labels and practice before you do your official labels because it does take a little practice lining those up. So a couple takeaways that I didn't plan on, but you know what? I like to keep it real to show you some mistakes so that you don't make them yourself. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial about how to do quick little cord labels with your Cricut Joy. And if you did, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and I'll see you in the next video.